CIL 650 presents It's Your Money, an up-close and personal look at your finances. Here's your host, Fred Snyder.
We are back. Remind you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and listeners out there, we are live. This is a live show every Saturday, so you can listen in. You can call in. We want to have conversations with you, our listeners, about your money, more importantly, about your money and how to keep it. And the key word is keep it, because we don't do a very good job in that particular regard. Ask yourself this question: what is my financial destiny? Am I going to become wealthy, or am I going to be broke like almost everybody else? And it makes a big difference. The main reason why people fail financially is they do not have a written financial plan. They don't have a blueprint that says, this is where I stand today. This is a list of my goals. This is where I want to go. And this is how I'm going to make all that happen. Make it happen means you start now. And the best way to start now is to make a phone call. So get on the line and give us a call. Remember, we're talking about what should be, if it isn't, your most important priority, your money, and how to keep it. 604-280-0650. Long distance, 877-280-0650. For those who are shy, reluctant to talk on the air for any reason whatsoever, Frida's down at the office. Area code 604-737-3512. If you're calling long distance down there, it's 1-800-661-1495. Remind you once again, we're talking about wealth. We're going to talk about a little bit, slightly more than wealth. We're going to talk about your financial wealth, and we're going to talk about your health wealth. Are you wealthy from a physical point of view? Are you wealthy from a financial point of view? And like love and marriage, they go hand in hand. Because the last thing that you want is your money to die before you do. Imagine if I could wave a magic wand and say that you can live, if you wish, to be at 140. Okay? Not many people at first glance would turn me down. However, you're probably going to be broke at age 85. If you were broke at 85 and you lived to be 140, you'd have a pretty miserable life. You'd be a long time broke. I want you to think about that. Health and wealth go hand in hand. And ultimately, your success in wealth and health depends upon paying yourself first. You got to get up in the morning and you got to take a brisk walk. You got to get on the tread climber. You have to motivate yourself. You have to want to. If you don't want to, you won't. You got to want to enough, and the key word is enough. Someone once said, having is the result of being. You want to have, you must become. So you got to work on yourself. Your body, your mind, your spirit, your soul, all those things, your family life, your social life. These are all important areas of your life that you must set goals in. That's what we're going to talk about here today. And joining me to talk about that and much, much more is Dr. Don Nixdorf.
Good morning, Fred.
And Don, I'm going to let you tell us what you do. Okay?
Well, first of all, I got up this morning, so thank you to you, CIL, and all your listeners. And going to give a quick shout out to my 90-year-old mother over there in Lanceville. And last night, my wife and I went to Christ Church Cathedral. I just want to congratulate my friend Stan Holland and the Welsh All Men's Choir. If you haven't had a chance to go listen to the Welsh All Men's Choir, I urge you to do it. Go online and look it up. So what do, Fred? Well, I have the privilege of being on your show once in a while because, as you pointed out, if you are hoping to have a financial plan, you better have a health plan first. Because
Bingo.
If you didn't sustain your employment in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you're going to have a challenge with that financial plan. You need your health to build the financial plan, and ironically, later, when you want to reap the rewards of that financial plan, what steps have you taken or are taking today to take care of your health? I am a practicing chiropractic doctor in Richmond since 1972. I've worked as executive director for the profession, been involved with federal and provincial government issues.
You've written a book, too.
And wrote a book with the late Gary Bannerman called Squandering Billions, Healthcare in Canada. And if you want to see a prescription and a recipe to stop squandering billions, because as you and I can get into later, I brought the tables of the expanding health costs the federal government pays and the provincial government pays. And I'm here to tell you and your listeners, the rising healthcare costs are like the housing bubble that everybody suffered before. And you got to recognize that.
Well, we have massive debt.
Oh.
Governments around the world. It's not just Canada. It's not, the whole world is awash in debt right
Well,
now.
you're a financial expert, so let
Yeah.
me ask you this before we get into some of the health issues that
Yeah.
drive people's costs and outcomes.
Sure.
I keep listening to Europe. They're paying minus interest on your savings and deposits, and people are putting money in.
And the government's confiscating wealth.
So, if in Europe they're already starting to give minus interest rates on savings, I'm bewildered.
Well, that would just force people to spend money. Spend it. If I put it in the bank, I'm going to get minus interest. So I better just spend it now while it has value. That's deflation.
Well, it just makes me wonder what's coming next when investors are putting their money into that for a minus return, and the financial institutions realize that they have to create saving instruments of that nature.
So join us, ladies and gentlemen, and listeners out there. Get on the line. Give us a call. Let's have a wild conversation about government debt and how bad that is for our financial health.
Well,
I once said, pick your politicians wisely. I've just completed a book, and I'm not sure how many ways to save tax I'm going to come up with. At last count, I had 39. Okay? So, and I'm going to kind of preview that book with you. Can't distribute this book yet, but I can talk about it. It's got to be approved by my company before I do that.
And your lawyer, don't forget.
And my lawyer as well. Yeah, get right on. So anyway, we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about that and much more. We'll talk about the financial planning process, and maybe I don't really include it, but maybe part of the financial planning process should be health. That should be a tab in the book. That should be a tab in the plan. This is what I'm going to do to make sure I'm healthy. You commented to me when you came in that I'd lost weight. I've lost 14 pounds.
Yeah, you're looking good, Fred.
Yeah, okay.
To all your listeners
And
who've
I
never
feel
seen
better.
you, Fred's looking better.
So I got a very, very specific goal, lose 30 pounds. I'm
Yep.
on my way. I've lost 15 already, lost halfway there.
Can I have your suit when you're done?
Well, I got to give it to somebody. It doesn't fit anymore. But the bottom line is it's about health and wealth, and they do go hand in hand. It's extremely important to understand that. So once again, 604-280-0650, 877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com. And for those who are shy, reluctant to talk on the air, Frida's down at the office as usual, 604-737-3512. Long distance, 1-800-661-1495. Now, she's there tomorrow, too. Tomorrow there'll be a replay between 10 and 11. So it may be the same show, it may be another one, but you can listen to this show on Sundays as well, and you can call Frida on Sundays. She's down at the office. So someone out there might want to make an appointment to see me for a second opinion on their investment portfolio. They may want a written financial plan. I don't like giving things away because I don't like to bribe people to call the show. Is there anything that we can give people today that would be meaningful?
Well,
how about the book? How about your book?
Absolutely. If any of your listeners want a complimentary copy of the book Squandering Billions, Healthcare in Canada, all they have to do is email you. We'll make arrangements to get them the book. We won't charge them any shipping charges either, because this is a book that they need to inform and educate themselves about for health as well as wealth planning.
Okay. So how do you motivate yourself? Like, what's motivation all about? Okay, because it doesn't matter whether we're talking about health. It doesn't matter whether we're talking about money. In order to get there, in order to make that a successful financial journey, you have to be motivated to make that journey. The word motivation is made up of two words. Now make notes, ladies and gentlemen, listeners. Write this down. This is an opportunity to learn something, okay? It's made up of two words. One word is motive, and the second word is action. Put them together and you got motivation. So in order to be motivated, you need a goal, that's the motive. And you need action to make it happen. Napoleon Hill once said, anything you can vividly imagine, ardently desire, and enthusiastically act upon will inevitably come to pass. That's the book, that's the book Think and Grow Rich. You give me a call or give Frida a call, I can tell you how to get that book. That's a free download off the internet. Won't even cost you a nickel. Okay? So Think and Grow Rich, I consider that to be my Bible. Almost all the great motivational speakers that ever have been got their material from that book. That's where it all started. That's the secrets of success of all the millionaires in the United States in the 30s. Their secrets of success is in that book. So you want to understand what financial success is all about? It's that book. The book talks about the 6 basic fears. What are the 6 basic fears? What is it that people are afraid of? When they're afraid, they don't take action, so there's no motivation. So how do you overcome the 6 basic fears? One of the basic fears is death. Everybody's afraid of death. Nobody wants to die. I don't know. I never met anybody yet that wanted to die. Okay? So we're afraid of death. We're afraid of ill health. We're afraid of poverty. We're afraid of loss of love. And we're afraid of criticism. Which one motivates us the most? The fear of criticism is even more severe than the fear of death. Charge of the Light Brigade charged up the hill to certain death. Knew they were all going to die because they didn't want to be called cowards. They were afraid of criticism. Criticism is a terrible, terrible thing. It accomplishes almost nothing. Dale Carnegie wrote 2 books, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And the motto behind that book is never criticize, condemn, or complain if you want to have any friends at all. Those who criticize, condemn, complain lose all their friends. And the second book is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, and that's about criticism too. And it says when you are criticized, this is how you deal with it. So you got to read those books to understand. And I don't know, maybe I'll give one of those books away, okay? Give us a call. Let's talk about your money and how to keep it. What can you share with our listeners about your experience? How do you motivate yourself? Someone once said, not very long ago, that if you're not interested in something, and there's lots of things we're not interested in. Like I know when I went to high school, I wasn't interested in learning French or Latin. I always got honors in physics and math and geometry and all that stuff, but I wasn't interested.
You weren't one of those painter types.
No, if I understood motivation then, I would have motivated myself to become interested in Latin or French. I wasn't motivated, and I wasn't interested. So to overcome lack of interest, you have to motivate yourself. So we go right back to those words again, motive and action. You got to want to, and you got to want to enough, and remember that having is the result of being. So focus on that, ladies and gentlemen and listeners. If you're out there and you're lazy financially, or you're not proactive with how you deal with your money or your health, not proactive enough, motivate yourself. And you motivate yourself with what's called affirmations. You look in the mirror and you talk to yourself. Make sure nobody else is watching. Okay?
Well,
so
right now,
that's what we're talking about.
Right now, I think a lot of our listeners here are motivating themselves to get out of bed, have that cup of coffee, tea, or water, or whatever, and make their way to the phone. So it's a gray, rainy morning, as everybody in Vancouver saw. So
you have some interesting statistics there, so share them with us.
Well, the thing that we hear a lot about is the Canada Health Act. And one of the things that listeners need to be aware of, there really isn't a Canada healthcare system. Every province has the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. And when we hear about it being free, everybody knows it's not free, but we just kind of pretend that. So Ottawa is now going to spend up to $34 billion, and the province of British Columbia, for the budget of 2014-15, is going to spend almost $17 billion. And in 3 years, that's going to go up to $18 billion combined with the transfer of payments for Ottawa. Now, what you hear a lot about in the media right now is that Ottawa, the election and everything, is going to cut transfer payments. Well, we've already seen the effects of the rising costs in healthcare, and they run into private user fees. Coming up later this month, there's going to be the court case with the BC government and Dr. Brian Day about private healthcare and whatnot. And it's going to be interesting to follow this because depending on the outcome, if the government succeeds in its argument, the question downstream is going to be, how do you then continue to meet these rising costs, which you're already laying off as user fees? As the public knows, we've had a whole range of user fees since 1987. So healthcare costs rise, and they have to be laid off to other places of cost. Common one is extended health plans to employers. So everything that is driving costs has to get paid somehow. And as we see the provincial budget rise and the Ottawa transfer payments slowly come down, the pressure is going to be to make Fred pay more for treatment out of his pocket when he goes. The real battleground, I think, is hospitals, and that is to say, what services, if any, and if any, what amount might you pay in co-payments? But anything outside of hospitals over the next 2 or 3 years, listeners have to be prepared to start planning probably to have a more co-payment involvement. User fees are there.
Well, we have to get to the realization that government itself has to be have to have a very solid, effective um, uh, objective when it comes to managing money, and I'm talking about fiscal policy.
Absolutely.
I'm talking about what's coming in taxes and whatever you call them, user fees, whatever.
Premiums, taxes.
What do they collect and what do they spend, and is that a deficit or a surplus? And right now it's probably a deficit. That's the problem. Okay, so it's a pretty scary situation when you look at it. I looked it up the other day. The national debt clock for the United States, the figure now is 18.5 trillion.
Yeah, and it's not.
And when it was 17 trillion, we thought it was massive. It's now 18.5.
And that clock just keeps ticking faster too.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Canada, per capita, we're not much better off in Canada. So somehow or another, governments have to realize, and people too, and it doesn't really matter what kind of an entity you are, whether you're a government, a municipality, a city, a corporation, an individual. It doesn't really matter. You have to balance your budget. You have to balance your books, okay? And you really should target for a surplus. I visited a fellow yesterday. He was $340 in the hole, okay, every month. So every month he has to spend $340 of his bank account to balance his books or borrow the money, one or the other, okay? I showed him a plan where he's got like $400 and some thousand in a bank account at 1.5%.
Yeah, opportunity cost there.
Okay, if he invests half of that money, less than half, that will give him the income shortfall that he already has. If he deferred his property taxes, that would cover the shortfall. So there's a number, but you have to balance your books.
But you've given these people tools and information that they might not otherwise have.
Yeah.
So, for example, you identified the 400,000 at 1.5%.
Yeah.
That person didn't appear to know the other vehicles that 400,000 could be put to work in.
Well, his 400,000 was diminishing, and he knew why. Because the deficit was eating it up.
Right.
I mean, that 400 and some thousand is declining by $350 a month. That's $4,000 a year, we'll say. And you can't keep that up or you're going to run out of money someday. Probably long before you die. That's the problem. So that money has to be invested so that it maintains a stream of income that provides him with the standard of living that he needs. And governments are no different. They do the same thing. Okay? And why they do it beats me. Maybe it's just convenience. Maybe they don't understand. Someone once said that the new Trudeau said the balance will balance itself automatically. It doesn't balance itself automatically.
Oh.
I mean that's being reactive, not proactive. You have to be proactive.
Yeah.
The BC government has been proactive about their finances, and they've done a pretty good job so far. Okay. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, listeners, get on the line. Give us a call. What are your comments about this subject? How can you motivate yourself to do better financially? That's the key to the whole thing. Okay.
When people call you, Fred, like right now, everything is so volatile. I don't think any listener isn't aware that oil prices have dropped, and the situation we talked about earlier where there's negative interest rates being paid on investments in Europe. So you're a financial expert. How do you look at that information and then deal with your clients either in adjusting their portfolios in the medium term or talking to new people that come forward? Because these are factors that not everybody knows how to deal with.
One of the funds that we used to recommend highly is an energy fund. The fund depends on the price of oil. Okay? So if the price of oil goes down, the fund is bound to decline. And if the price of oil goes up, it's going to go up. And there's a lot of uncertainty about the price of oil right now. So we've decided to take that fund out of the portfolio and replace it with a global real estate fund instead as a replacement. There's another fund in the portfolio. It's a Canadian dividend fund where 30% of that fund is invested in energy. We decided to leave that one alone because the money manager will fix that automatically, the manager of the fund. The manager of the fund will reduce the dependence on energy and replace it with something else automatically.
So you got to keep track of what some of the managers are doing in the funds that you're dealing with.
That's exactly right.
So there's two managers, you and whoever else you have confidence in.
Yeah, I manage the managers.
Right.
Okay. So I don't have to be looking at all the individual securities that's inside that portfolio. Is that fund a good fund to buy and hold? Okay. And it would be a good fund to buy and hold if you think it's going to come back. If you think energy is going to turn around, we're not sure enough. of that right now, so we decided to replace it. That's the key to the whole thing. 604-280-0650. Long distance, 877-280-0650. Log on, www.tisl650.com. And for those who are shy, Frida's down at the office, 604-737-3512. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is the proactive number. You want to get something going, you call Frida. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the number, 604-737-3512. Long distance, 800-661-1495. You want to participate in the show, call us here. Maybe you want to give us a testimonial. Maybe you're a client. Maybe you've attended a workshop. No, and I forgot to mention, we have a workshop coming up. We got 35 enrolled right now. We're looking for 50. When we get 50, we're going to do a workshop, and it's going to be on 39 ways to ease the tax bite. That's my new book right now.
39 ways to ease the tax bite.
Yeah, but I've got a few more than 39 now. I added a few more to the list, so I got to do some editing. But we'll talk a bit about this particular book. If I go to the index, there's the index, and we have in the forward here, which is all here. And this is some of the stuff you've been talking about. I'm talking about government waste. I'm talking about government fiscal policy, government spending, waste. Income tax is not the only tax. Everybody thinks income tax is the only tax. Well, what about property taxes, GST, HST, all the rest of that stuff?
They're endless.
We work 4, 5, 6 months out of every year just to pay our taxes, according to the Fraser Institute. You're richer than you think. This is ways to find some money that you probably didn't know you had. This is the financial planning process in general. And then I list 39 ways to save tax, and they go down. So that's the index, and it continues here. There's just a few more. Political contributions, year-end straddles, income splitting, fines and penalties, expectation of profit, ski chalet or cottage, eliminating bad debt. The list is endless. All ways to save on your income tax. And why should you save on income tax? Because if you reduce the taxes you pay, you have money to invest that you'd normally pay out in taxes. If you get a nice tax refund, you can invest that money in an investment portfolio.
For some of your listeners here, the one I'm looking at right now is called Avoiding Clawback of Old Age Pension, Guaranteed Income. Now, that one may be a little bit more topical than most of us realize, given the time of year and some of the listeners. What do you have to say about that?
Well, the clawback, if your income exceeds $60,000, then you start to get your old age pension clawed back at 15%.
And maybe that's not a bad thing or not, depending on where you think your $60,000 is going to go.
I know. You work your ass off, pardon my language, all your life to accumulate some money, and you got this beautiful RRSP, and now you're forced to start taking it out. By the end of the year, you turn 71, and then
you're taxed on it.
You don't even need the money. You're taxed on that, and then on top of that, you get your old age pension clawed back too.
That's a gross unfairness. And when you mentioned earlier governments and whatnot, people have to remember that the person who is their neighbor could theoretically run for office, get elected, and then be the so-called quote-unquote government. Sure, the bureaucrats are there forever, but the people that influence these decisions like you're talking about, they could actually be your neighbor running for office.
For sure. For absolutely sure. Let's talk to Judy from Vancouver. Judy, welcome to the program.
Hello. Good morning.
Hi, Judy. Good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm just wondering, I have a couple of things, but the first thing is on motivation and understanding why you're not motivated, and fear is a big part of it. And so what I did, I took Fred's classes for a couple of years and learned a lot from him, and listening to the program and then going on the computer and learning more. And I think the fear is that you don't know what you're doing and that you're going to make a mistake, because many people do, or getting the wrong advisor and trusting
Oh, for sure.
somebody.
You're totally, completely, positively sure, Judy. You're bang on the money. People are afraid. If you take the word fear, that's an acronym: false evidence appearing real. Easy to remember. Fear is lack of knowledge. Knowledge is just the opposite. Knowledge is motivation. If you're brave and you're competent and you're confident and you're strong if you have knowledge. And most people don't have the knowledge to make the financial decisions throughout their life that they need to make, and be able to do it with conviction and clarity. That's what we're talking about. So think
That's
about
right.
fear as false evidence appearing real. why don't we get more calls on this radio show about all these topics? It blows me away. I know there's thousands of people listening to the show right now. You're out there, you're listening. Why don't you call? You're afraid. You're afraid to embarrass yourself. You're afraid I'm going to ask you an embarrassing question. How much money you got?
Judy led the parade this morning. She's not afraid.
I know.
Well, I decided to study with Fred, and like I've been listening to his program for many years, and fear and motivation, all of the things that you've been talking about were big mistakes, because the more I would hold back, the more I don't have the confidence to put in somebody. And Fred, you can put your confidence in him and know that he's going to do his best for you, because he's always saying the same things and he's being honest. And it's not easy to find somebody.
I don't get a home run every time I'm up to bat.
No, but you're doing the best you can for the client.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're informing the client. And in my case, I've been part of the decision making, and you don't leave anyone out in the dark.
I studied for 2 hours already today before I even got to the radio show. Every day. You know why? Because the future is a moving target. To keep up, you got to stay on top of it. Because everything I know today can be easily obsolete tomorrow. Because everything changes. It is a moving target. And that's the one thing that I provide for my clients, is knowledge, and up-to-date knowledge. And it's never going to be perfect, because I'm not perfect like anybody else. I don't get a home run every time I'm up to bat. Okay? It's like some of the hockey players, they don't score a goal every time they shoot the puck.
Yeah.
Okay? Henry, someone once asked Rocket Richard, how come he scored so many goals? He said, I shoot the puck. Okay? So the more you shoot, the more. So maybe that's maybe that's good advice for the Vancouver Canucks. But the bottom line is that you got to find a way to get motivated, and we're going to keep stressing that word. We're going to keep coming back to that word, motivation. And I don't care if you're rich or poor, old or young. You need a financial plan. If you don't have one, get one. Okay, that's what it's all about.
But you need one that you know is doing what you're doing, keeping up to date.
Yeah.
They've got the client in mind, and they're trying to do the best for the client and keeping the client involved.
If you have a financial plan, you got to update at least once a year. So if the financial advisor is keeping up to date, he'll update the plan once a year. And sometimes maybe the software they use to generate the plan needs to be updated as well. Maybe the older software is not the best anymore. There's various versions of software that does financial plans that are out there that people need to deal with a financial advisor that stays on top of all that. So again, Judy, I can't tell you much. I appreciate your call. And again, she's going to get that book. So all you got to do is touch base with Frida.
Okay, I had another question, and I don't know if it's too far off topic.
Oh, go ahead, Judy. No problem. I think I recognize your voice.
Some friends of mine, I just attended a funeral, and the woman was 93, but they have, an acreage and assets, etc. So one of the children wanted to take it over, buy it or whatever, and so I sort of thought, well, if they made it a business, a company, like the estate, a company, or the property, then maybe they could rent it from the company if they can't afford to take over the whole mortgage.
Judy, I thought you're not a financial advisor, are you?
No.
I think, like I said, I think I recognize your voice. But that's a great idea. That could be a great idea. It may not, but it could be a great idea.
Yeah, and I thought, well, that way they could rent it from the estate, and all the expenses would come off of the estate.
Sure.
So I just wondered if you had any.
Well, I can't say that everybody should do that, because it depends on individual circumstances. But you could set up a corporation, and you could roll those assets into the corporation under Section 85, and that avoids triggering tax. It's called a Section 85 rollover. It's often referred to as an estate freeze. It's a complicated maneuver. It can be expensive to do, so it's not the right thing for everybody to do. And anybody listening to the show, don't run out and do the same thing based on what you heard on this show. You need to talk to your accountant, your financial advisor, before you take serious steps like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a procedure which wealthy, high net worth people use to protect their assets from the tax man.
Yeah.
So,
and everyone could get an income from the invested.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea in some cases.
Yeah, if the people are honest.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct. I got to move along. I appreciate your call, Judy. You have a nice weekend. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Let's talk to Bernard from Richmond. Bernard, welcome to the program.
Hey, Fred. Hey, Don.
Hi, Bernard. How are you?
Doing?
Morning, Bernard.
Hey, I wanted to thank Fred for leveraging his knowledge to me by passing Don on to me, who helped fix my back. I was almost going to get an operation, but thank you, Don. You really have saved the day. I'm swimming 1 kilometer a day in under 20 minutes now. I feel fantastic.
That's only because you're part fish.
Really good.
Excellent, Bernard. Thanks for the comment. And you raised the key point, keeping back problems under control, both prevention and after treatment, and that is exercise. So Bernard, he's swimming, and that's a great exercise, but it brings the point forward that you've got to realize that the back is a series of bone joints. You need to move them to keep that well.
Fantastic. And Fred, I just wanted to thank you the other day for talking to me. You've been like a father figure to me. I really, really appreciate that. And when you get your copy of your book, I really want to be the first guy to get the autograph.
Well, I'm going to publish this book electronically, but I can't publish anything as long as I'm under the Scotia McLeod banner without their approval. So I have to get their approval first.
I'm really excited about it and would really like to help you promote that book. I really see you being a teacher for financial planners because you are a guy of integrity. You have a vast amount of knowledge. As you just said something on the radio about some tax thing that, of course, you need advice from other people, but you're just so knowledgeable about everything and anything. You're like a psychologist, a psychiatrist. You have a team. You have a team behind you. And
well, tell me something, Bernard. You've been a client of mine for a long time. How long have you been a client of mine?
Yeah.
How long have you been my client?
If I would have listened to you 25 years ago and stayed the course, well, I'd be a multi-millionaire today, but I'm doing well. I'm in a good position. I'm still going through a career change. I'm going to be taking a holiday and pondering what I'm going to be doing, whether it's the auto industry or...
Well, you just were recently laid off, so you're currently now retired, but you're young enough that you're going to get another job. You're going to be doing something else. But I can tell you right now that you're financially independent. I know your numbers.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about money at all.
No. And the thing is that I don't need a job. I want a career, and that's the difference.
Yeah, and that goes to the issue of motivation, and motivation what keeps you going in life.
Yeah. Okay. Now I gotta slide along here. Bernard, thanks for the call. I really appreciate it.
God bless you guys. Have a fantastic day.
Take care, Bernard.
Take care.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. So there we're up to 39, and I can go through all these. I'm not going to. The time doesn't allow. But the conclusion of it all is I got an article here called "The Power of Now." That's a book. Everybody should get that. Maybe I should be distributing that book to callers and listeners. The Power of Now. That means you don't procrastinate. You do it now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you get around to it, all that kind of stuff. You do it now.
Speaking of now, Fred, you haven't told the listeners where your office is.
No, but I'm coming to that after the break.
Okay.
So when we come back, we're going to tell you where to find me and where to find Don. Don't go away.
Fred Snyder.
I want people to call the show that are genuinely interested in increasing their financial IQ so that they can become financially independent sooner and stay financially independent longer.
Fred Snyder.
You don't have a blueprint. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. And how about having a blueprint for your life? What are your lifestyle goals? You need to think about your family life. What are your goals about your family life? What are your lifestyle goals when it comes to health? What are your lifestyle goals when it comes to finances, mental and spiritual? You have to set goals in all those areas, not just finances.
Fred Snyder.
Often we fail because we put too much emphasis on one area and ignore everything else. We work our butts off and we ruin our health. So life is all about balance. So you need a life plan.
Fred Snyder.
Napoleon Hill says this, wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Anything that you can vividly imagine, ardently desire, and enthusiastically act upon will inevitably come to pass.
Fred Snyder.
My goal, my mission is to help people enhance their financial IQs by teaching them what they need to know to make better financial decisions.
Fred Snyder, Saturday mornings at 8 and Sunday mornings at 10 on Smooth and Easy, CIL 650. This is CISL Vancouver, smooth and easy. CIL 650. This is It's Your Money on CIL 650. Here once again is Fred Snyder.
Okay, we're back. Remind you once again, ladies and gentlemen, we are live, so you can call us, and we want you to call. To encourage you to call, we're giving away books, and I'm talking here today with Dr. Don Nexdorf, who's a chiropractor.
That's right.
Practicing chiropractor.
Practicing in Richmond.
Yeah, and he's here to talk about health, and I'm here to talk about wealth, and we're going to marry the two together because they're kind of like love and marriage. You can't have one without the other.
We want you to be healthy enough to enjoy all the benefits of your financial plans.
Yeah. And you want to make sure your money lasts as long as you do.
That's right, and I'm here to help you do that. So you can find me on the website www.dnixdorf.com, dnixdorf.com.
Okay, so call us. Once again, area code 604-280-0650. Long distance 877-280-0650. Log on www.cisl650.com. And for those who are shy, or those who really want to tear away all the veneer and get right down to the core, those who want to be brutally proactive, call Frida. She's down at the office right now, area code 604-737-3512, long distance 800-661-1495. You want to put your name down for our next workshop? I think we got 15 slots still left. Give her a call right now because those will fill up probably today.
And where are those workshops, Fred? I haven't heard you tell me yet where they are.
It's going to be at the Holiday Inn on Broadway.
Okay. Not your office.
We don't have room for 50 people.
Oh, 50, 50. I thought you said 15.
No, 50. So we're looking for 50 people. My office is located on the corner of Broadway and Granville, right over Chapters, 8th floor. So if you want to make an appointment to see me, second opinion on your investment portfolio in writing, a written financial plan, all pro bono, no cost whatsoever, give Frida a call. That's the most important number of all. That's the first step. 604-737-3512. Long distance, you're over on Vancouver Island or anywhere in the Lower Mainland, 1-800-661-1495. Now, I want to talk about The Greatest Salesman. That's another great book. That's written, I think it's said that it's sold more copies, almost many copies as the Bible itself.
So how does that relate to listeners as far as motivation goes?
It's motivation, okay? So there's 10 scrolls in there, and the 10 scrolls are these. The first scroll says, today I begin a new life.
Every day.
Every day is a brand new life. It's a new page. Turn the page. Yesterday's a canceled check. Tomorrow's a promissory note. The only real time is right now, that's today. So today I begin a new life. Second part of the scroll is, I will greet this day with love in my heart. I will love everybody, myself included, okay? Today I begin a new life. I greet this day with love in my heart. What a way to get up in the morning, okay? I once got on a bus. I was in Florida somewhere, and the bus driver, the tour driver, got on the bus and said, look at you guys. You look all tired and sick.
You raise
he said, many of you guys are just looking forward to getting back to bed tonight.
You raise a good point on the second scroll.
Yeah.
If you don't feel good and love yourself first, and that's not talking about being selfish.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
You have to feel good about yourself when you put your feet on the floor and look in the mirror, because from there you can wrap your arms around everybody.
Yeah, you can't love anybody if you don't love yourself. You got to start by loving yourself, and I don't mean egotistical and all that.
No,
I'm not talking that.
Faith, confidence, and belief in yourself.
And you know why you should love yourself? Because you're nature's greatest miracle. There's nobody else like you anywhere in the whole wide world. You're different. And that's okay to be different.
Yeah, I've been accused of being different.
Have you? Okay. But, you're nature's greatest miracle. Think about that for a minute. If you don't believe it, think about it. Look in the mirror and tell me, who else is there that's exactly like you? You're nature's greatest miracle. You can achieve anything you want if you only can motivate yourself. So you're nature's greatest miracle. I will master my emotions.
That's the third scroll.
That's the fourth.
Fourth.
I'll master my emotions. I'm not going to get stupidly mad. If I get mad or angry, it's because I want to, not because I lose control.
Good point.
Okay? I will manage my emotions. Next one is I'll laugh at the world. I mean, I'm going to learn to laugh at myself. I do some stupid things every now and then. I think they're funny. The greatest comedians in the world laugh at themselves. Maybe Robin Williams had a problem with that one. I'm not so sure. I don't know. He was a great comedian. But maybe he couldn't laugh at himself. He has some issues. Let's talk to Maria from Vancouver. Maria, welcome to the program.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Maria.
Thank you. You know, I have to say a couple of things. First of all, I cannot believe I am 60, right? And I've never talked about my personal business with anybody, no matter how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
But listening to you has taught me to not do that because we learn from other people's mistakes.
Bang on.
Well, the reason I'm calling today is not about money, which I lost. I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was warned, do not take the man that left you back. Did Maria listen? Of course not, because I believe in second, third, and fourth chances.
Yeah.
So he came back February 12th. We had a nice Valentine. We actually went out, had a dance, my first dance ever. I never got that with my first marriage. So I was grateful to God. But he's gone again as of March 8th.
Wow.
And the police is going to come here to tell me what it's all about. Well, it's not easy to figure it out, but what I'm trying to say is this. The gentleman that just spoke, his name is Bernard.
Yes.
He took the time to call me,
Yes.
to tell me that to be strong and to just keep going forward.
You're absolutely right.
Now I just heard he's also financially independent,
Yeah.
and yet he took a moment out of his busy life to let another human being know that it will only get better, not to give up. I'm not giving up, but what I'm trying to say to the people listening is this. Fred must be a very special individual. Why? Because here we are. We're pouring our hearts out. We are telling the world what is going on and how bad it got. And I have no shame in telling the whole world, yes, I lost it all because I was kind, because I was taught to give
And tell me,
others.
Maria, what's wrong with that? Nothing.
No, and that's why I'm calling in, because nobody's telling me to do it. I'm going with my heart, and I'm going with my God-given brain that is always trying to do the right thing. For
Maria,
whatever reason we mess up, we have
just
to
imagine,
forgive.
if you will, a world without love.
Exactly.
Let's say love
And
didn't
don't
exist.
give up on anybody.
Okay? And if you want to test that, just imagine if tomorrow something happened and everybody in the whole wide world died and you were the only person that survived and you're all alone and there's nobody to love. Think about how desperately sad that would be. That would be just a terrible, terrible, terrible feeling. And the only thing there is really at the end of the day is love. I once watched a motivational speaker give a talk on this very topic. He talked about traveling around the world looking for the meaning of life. And he makes the point. He talked to all kinds of people, all races, every continent, every country in the world. At the end of the day, he came to the conclusion that the only meaning for life is love.
Well, it sounds like Maria's feeling good about herself, so I think she's going to be just fine.
Yeah.
I am fine because I will not change. And that's the miracle. We're born with nothing. We leave with nothing. It's what we do from beginning to end that counts.
Sure.
So I hope your listeners call. If they have a situation, don't be afraid. Nobody's going to eat you. Nobody knows what you look like. And if somebody recognizes you, they'll be proud of you for having the courage to take a chance and speak up. So, Fred, as I always say, keep up the good work.
Maria, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your call. Thanks for the kudos.
Thank you. Take care.
You take care. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Maria puts the personal spin
Yeah.
on the business of finance.
Sure. So the next one in the whole equation is that I will multiply my value 1,000-fold. That's investing. That's personal growth and development. That's establishing goals. That's the plan. That's everything. Now, when we talk about goals, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about all kinds of goals. You got wealth, that's a goal. You got family life, that's a goal. You got social life, that's a goal. You got body, mind, and soul, that's 3 more goals. You need to establish goals in all those areas, or it's like having a wheel on your car that's out of balance, or a flat tire and trying to drive down the highway. Everything has to be in balance. So everybody needs a proper goal-setting program. Your hopes, your plans, your dreams, your ambitions, everything that you want out of life has to be redefined into meaningful, specific goals. So here's the formula. So once again, if you're listening to the show, the first part of the formula is to establish crystal clear goals. I want to be rich is not a goal. That's a dream. I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40 is a more specific goal. You have to make your goals really crystal clear. And having done that, then you must develop written plans with deadlines. Yeah, you put it all on paper. This is my blueprint. If part of it's money, then that's a financial plan if you don't have one. So I'm going to establish written plans with deadlines. They're time bonded. Number 3 is I'm going to kindle desire. I'm going to make myself hungry for what I want. And how do you do that? You visualize yourself having already achieved those goals. Now again, if it's losing weight, as an example, tying into what we're talking about here with Don, right when I shave in the morning, I have a picture of a guy with 6-pack abs right in front of me on the mirror.
And you did that with Photoshop, did you?
Oh yeah. But pictures is what it's all about. Now, if you don't have crystal clear goals, you can't visualize the goal.
You need to own the goal.
Yeah. So you see yourself. If you want to retire in Hawaii, you imagine yourself walking on the beach. You can feel the hot sand crunch between your toes. You can hear the surf on the beach. You can hear the seagulls circling overhead. You create word pictures. You got to be able to see it to be able to visualize it. If you want to make yourself hungry, just imagine a nice sirloin steak covered in mushrooms. Just visualize it. Think that's the way you got to have crystal clear goals to be able to visualize it. That's what we're talking about. Okay? Very, very important. Then you must develop confidence. You have to believe you can. If you don't believe you can, if I don't believe I can lose 30 pounds, I'm never going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to give up before I start.
That's right.
I have to believe that I can. And sometimes if the goal is a big goal, you got to break it down into smaller bite-sized goals. So I'm going to lose a pound a day. That really is my objective.
A pound a day.
Yeah, if I do that, I'm going to be negative weight by the time a year goes by.
You'll be like those investors over in Europe.
But the bottom line is a pound a day until I get 30 off. That's the key. That's manageable. And I can do that. I don't have any issues with that. Now, that's still not going to get you there, because the last step is I'm going to have the iron-willed determination to pursue my goals, regardless of circumstances, criticism, or what other people say, think, or do. I'm not going to be diverted from my goals because they're my goals. So you want a bigger house? Get a goals book. Put a picture of the house that you want in the goals book. Look at it every day. I could talk about this for hours because this is what I did. I remember when I was in Ottawa one time, I wanted to live at the foot of Grouse Mountain. I got a picture of a skier coming down Grouse Mountain and a house at the bottom of Grouse Mountain. Beautiful house. I had a brown Lincoln in the driveway. I said, that's what I want. I put the book away and I forgot all about it until I moved to Vancouver, and I ended up, I'm in Grouse Woods. The house I picked up, it's the same house almost. It almost looked the same. I didn't have a brown Lincoln. I had a brown Thunderbird, almost the same. And a chill went down my back because that was in my subconscious mind, Don. Okay?
Yep.
So you establish crystal clear goals, and once you have them, at the end of the day, You pursue your goals regardless of circumstances, criticism, or what other people say, think, or do. Now, the formula I just gave out about 40 years ago cost me $600. I took a course. That's what I paid for on the course. You guys and my listeners, you just got it all for nothing. Maybe because it was free, you won't pay any attention to it. Trust me, it's valuable. Remember I said earlier, having is the result of being. You can't have until you become. If I gave lots of people $1 million, they'd be broke in a year because they wouldn't know how to manage it or keep it.
Well, I'd come to you for advice.
Yeah. Okay, so enough preaching.
Well,
we're starting to run out of time. Area code 604-280-0650. Long distance 877-280-0650. www.cisl.cis650.com. Frida down at the office. Area code 604-737-3512. You want to make an appointment to see myself, second opinion on your investment portfolio. You want to reserve a seat for our next workshop, call Frida. And again, remind you once again, we're talking about motivation. We're talking about having some goals and creating the action needed to achieve those goals.
Should thank Frida for working Saturdays and Sundays too.
Well, she doesn't work Thursdays or Fridays because of that. It's a fair trade. But it's very convenient for my clients because she's there.
Yeah.
That's all she does.
Yeah.
She can book appointments, whatever it takes.
And people have time on Saturdays and Sundays a little bit more to be flexible
Sure.
for these rather critical matters.
Yeah. So 39 ways to ease the tax bite. You can see that on the screen. You got that guy wrestling a shark. So maybe that's what you do with the tax man. You wrestle with the tax man. Okay? And that's copyright issues. These are acknowledgments. I acknowledge David Ingram. A lot of good ideas about planning and tax planning came from David Ingram. Great guy. Used to do many radio shows with David. Going to miss him dearly. Just a great guy. Thumbs up to David Ingram. Disclaimer. Don't worry about that right now. There's introductions and so on. We've been talking about motivation. It's all right here.
When's this book going to be available, subject to the
Well, it's
your employers?
subject to approval by my company. So I
What
don't know.
timeline do you think that might be?
Oh, no more than a month.
Month?
Yeah.
And it'll be available online first?
Yeah. I plan on publishing it online.
Yeah.
Okay. But here we're talking about government fiscal policy. We talk about government debt. We talk about all this stuff. It's all in there. You know, you look at government debt. It's not going away. This is what scares the hell out of me. It keeps increasing. What happens when the interest payments on the government debt starts to consume over half of every dollar the government collects in taxes?
Tell listeners where the government gets its money to pay the debt.
Well, that's a good question. You mean where do they get the borrowed money or the interest?
Any money. Where does
taxes? It's taxes.
And where do taxes come from?
You and me.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And in all those different ways that
Yeah.
you said before, income, premiums, sales taxes, all drifting down.
It all comes from the taxpayer, ultimately. Look at it this way. The Fraser Institute over and over and over again have said that we work 4, 5, 6 months, even more out of every year just to pay our taxes. They're not talking just about income tax. They're talking about all your taxes. And it may even be higher than that when you look at it, everything. Taxes is growing faster than any other thing that we spend money on. It's growing faster than the cost of groceries. It's growing faster than housing. It's growing faster than anything else that we spend money on. And that's part of our budget. When you think about it, if you're in the top tax bracket, which is now 50% in British Columbia, it used to be 43.7, it's now 50%. If you're in the top tax bracket, every dollar you earn, the government takes 50 cents.
And if you make donations at that high income, do you get 50% credit?
No.
How much do you get credit?
I forget.
But it's not matched.
No, it's definitely not matched. It's a tax credit, but it's not equal to what you contribute.
Yeah.
So if for example, you spend $1 on groceries, it's not tax deductible. So you really got to earn $2 to have the dollar left to buy the groceries.
Yep.
So every time you spend some money on anything, doesn't matter what it is, you spend some money on anything, think, well, gee, I just spent $1, but that was really $2 in before tax dollars. If I'd have put that into an RSP, it would have been $2. If you want to find some money to save that you don't think you have and you smoke, quit smoking. Okay, for crying out loud. Quit. You're stupid if you smoke, and pardon me if I insult a whole lot of people, but yeah, you're stupid. All right? So if you smoke, think about this. What's the cost for a package of cigarettes?
I have no idea.
It's about $10. $10, what's that per cigarette? There's 20 cigarettes in a package. Think about what that costs. $10, but you really had to earn 20. Pay $10 of tax to have $10 left to buy the cigarettes. So if you didn't buy the cigarettes and you put that money into your RRSP, it's like $20 a day. How much is that a month? $600 a month goes into your RRSP. Quit smoking and put $600 a month into your RRSP. Now, when you do that, you're going to get a tax refund for $300. You put that $300 into your TFSA. Quit smoking now, and you can put $600 into an RRSP and $300 into your TFSA. And you say, I don't have any money? Scotia says you're richer than you think. This is how you find money. Defer your property taxes. Take the money from the deferred property taxes, put it into your RRSP. Get a tax deduction on that. Put the tax refund into your TFSA. This is what you do. Now, we got to sign off in a second. Don, what advice would you give people in general?
Well, the whole thing, like you said before, it's planning, and it's planning for your health and planning for your financial capabilities later. You need to focus on your earning ability. That means you have to be healthy to work. And as the World Health Organization just said last fall, low back problems are now in the top 10 disabilities worldwide.
How would our listeners get a hold of you, Don?
They can get a hold of me at the office, 604-271-6442, or the web, dnixdorf.com.
And Frida's down at the office right now, 604-737-3512. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Bye for now.
If you'd like Fred to review your portfolio, call his office right now at 604-737-3512. That's 604-737-3512.